Hello and welcome to our YouTube channel Aviation Avi. Go where you feel the most alive. In aviation, safety is the first priority and it should be everybody's responsibility. So it starts with you. Today we will be talking about 5 accidents which has changed the course of aviation in India. In fact, this aviation sector has evolved itself from the learnings and teachings which we have got from the previous accidents and incidents and taking corona as a new challenge. Now the first accident in our list is the bombing of Air India flight 182 or the Kanishka tragedy. Kanishka was the name of the aircraft itself, a Boeing 747-237B jumbo jet carrying 329 souls from Montreal to London on 23rd June 1985. The aircraft was bombed in the mid-air over the Atlantic Ocean and all the passengers and the crew member died. The Babbar Khalsa group terror was implicated in the bombing. This mishap has taught the world the concept of gate no-show drill. Now, the gate no-show drill is a procedure of offloading the whole baggage performed by the airlines in case the passenger does not show up at the boarding gate. This means that your luggage will only be carried into an aircraft if you board the aircraft. Otherwise, you have to send your luggage as cargo. So if this procedure would have been taken place on that very date, the Kanishka tragedy would not been happened. The next accident can be termed as the Murphy Law. Yes, the Murphy Law. It says that when something is going to happen, it will happen. Nobody can stop it. This is what happened with the Kazakhstan flight and Saudi Arabian Airlines flight. The Kazakhstan flight 1907 was reaching to its destination at Delhi and was cleared to descend to 15,000 feet. In the meanwhile, the Saudi Arabian Airlines flight 763 was allowed to climb up to 14,000 feet. After about 8 minutes, the pilot of the Kazakhstan flight reported that he has reached to its assigned altitude, which is of 15,000 feet. But actually, the flight was at 14,500 feet and was still descending. There was a fault with the altimeter of that aircraft, or the pilot has calculated the wrong altitude. And the Saudi Arabian flight was reaching the same altitude and both are head on the same airway. It is to know this and try to inform both the pilots, but it was too late and the collision took place near Charki Dadri. That's why this collision is also called as Charki Dadri mid-air collision. Now this accident has brought many amendments. The first one is separation of inbound and outbound aircraft, which means the inbound and the outbound aircraft will have separate air corridors. Second, installation of secondary radar. Before, we work with the primary radar only, but with the installation of secondary radar, it has become very easy to identify the friendly targets. Third point, mandatory collision avoidance equipment. In India, now it is mandatory to have collision avoidance radar on each aircraft serving the Indian territory. Fourth, the right hand rule, which means that if in any case two aircrafts somehow come to the same airway in opposite directions and head on, each will take its respective right turns to avoid the collision. The most controversial is the IC-814, 24th December 1999, an Indian airline flight which took off from Tribhuvan International Airport, Kathmandu, Nepal, and was destined to Indira Gandhi International Airport, was hijacked by 5 masked hijackers soon after it took off from Kathmandu. The pilot, Mr. Devi somehow convinced the hijackers that the fuel was not sufficient enough for the aircraft to stay in air. They have to land because the pilot was not in favor of leaving the Indian territory as demanded by the hijackers. So the aircraft landed at Amritsar. The aircraft stayed for 45 minutes at Amritsar, and the state police said that they can handle the situation. But according to the government, it was the responsibility of NSG who was on its way. Somehow, the hijackers got to know that it's a trap, and they demanded the pilot to take off from Amritsar without refueling. So the aircraft took off and entered into the Pakistan territory. Now, the fuel on the aircraft is dangerously low and they have to land somewhere. But the ATC at Lahore closed all the navigation lights. But the pilots still tried to land, and when the ATC found that the plane will crash land, then only they had on the lights. The plane was landed at Pakistan, refueled only, no other help was given to that aircraft, and then again took off from there. From Lahore, Pakistan, the aircraft went to Dubai, where some help was given and 27 passengers were released, in which one was dead. Now from Dubai, the aircraft went to Kandahar, where the real motive of hijacking was revealed, to secure the release of some figures, in which one of them was Maulana Masood Azhar, the person behind the Pulwama attack 2018. Now, one very important thing. Ajit Doval, the IB chief that time, who led the 4-member negotiating team at Kandahar, described the whole incident as a diplomatic failure under the government of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. The amendment after this incident was the Anti-Hijacking Act 2016 is an act of Parliament of India intended to enforce the Hague Hijacking Convention and the 2010 Beijing Protocol supplementary to the convention. The act repeals and replaces the Anti-Hijacking Act of 1982. The new act broadened the definition of hijacking to include any attempt to seize or gain control of an aircraft using any technological means also, which accounts for the possibility that hijackers may not be physically present on board the aircraft. Now, government works on zero tolerance policy against hijacking. The fourth one, probably the last one for this session, because the fifth one is a surprise for our viewers. The Mangalore crash. The flight 812, an Air India Express flight, a Boeing 737-800 equipped with SPF, meaning Short Field Performance Package. But due to the mistake of the pilot, this crash happened. Now, it's a scheduled flight from Dubai to Mangalore and was about to land on Mangalore's tabletop runway. The runway length is 2440 meters, but due to the mistake of the pilot, the aircraft touched down after leaving 1600 meters from the threshold, and now it has only about 800 meters left for the aircraft to stop. It did not happen. The aircraft overran the arrestor bed and fell into a deep valley. Only 8 survived. The solution to this crash can be a well-developed EMAS, EMAS means Engineered Material Arresting System, which can be installed at the end of the runways so that it could stop the aircraft when overrunning has occurred. American EMAS is very costly and have to be replaced after every 10 years. Once IIT Madras tried to develop an EMAS of low relative cost, but the success rate was very low. So if you like our work, do like, comment and subscribe our channel because your support is our